Charles Bronson saved a nurse from a serial stalker, what he did next changed stalking laws. The first letter arrived at Mercy General Hospital on a Tuesday morning in November 1982. It was addressed to Jennifer Walsh, a 28-year-old emergency room nurse who had been working the night shift for 3 years. The letter was handwritten on expensive stationery, the kind used for formal invitations. But the words inside were anything but formal. Dear beautiful Jennifer. I have been watching you for weeks now. You are the most perfect woman I have ever seen. I know we are meant to be together. Soon, I will make myself known to you properly. With all my love. Your devoted admirer. Jennifer showed the letter to her supervisor, Margaret Chen, who had been head nurse at Mercy General for 15 years. Probably just a patient who developed a crush, Margaret said. We see this sometimes. Just ignore it, and it'll probably go away. But it didn't go away. 3 days later, Jennifer found a dozen red roses waiting for her at the nurse's station. The card read, "For my angel in white. Soon we will be together. Forever." A week after that, someone left an expensive bottle of perfume in Jennifer's locker. Then expensive chocolates. Then jewelry. The gifts were always accompanied by increasingly intimate letters describing how the writer watched Jennifer every day, knew her schedule, knew what she wore, knew where she parked her car. I love the way you brush your hair back when you're concentrating, one letter read. I love the blue scrubs you wear on Wednesdays. I love watching you through your apartment window when you're cooking dinner. That last line made Jennifer's blood run cold. Someone was watching her at home. She went to the police, but Detective Robert Martinez wasn't encouraging. Unless this person threatens you directly or tries to physically contact you, there's not much we can do. Sending gifts and love letters isn't illegal, even if it's unwanted. But he's watching me at my apartment. That has to be illegal. If you can prove he's trespassing on private property, yes. But if he's watching from a public street or another building, that's harder to prosecute. Detective Martinez took down all the information and filed a report, but he was honest about the limitations. Miss Walsh, stalking laws in California are very weak right now. Unless this escalates to actual threats or violence, the legal system has limited options. It escalated. 2 weeks later, Jennifer came home from a double shift at the hospital to find her apartment door slightly ajar. Someone had been inside. Nothing was stolen, but someone had gone through her personal belongings. Her clothes had been touched, her photographs moved, her diary read. On her pillow was a single red rose and another note. I needed to learn more about the woman I love. Your apartment smells like flowers and dreams. I took nothing, but I left my heart behind. Jennifer was terrified. She called the police again, but the responding officers found no signs of forced entry. The intruder had either picked the lock or had a key. We'll dust for fingerprints, Officer Janet Rodriguez told her, but these kinds of stalkers usually wear gloves. Smart criminals know how to avoid leaving evidence. Jennifer installed new locks and a security system, but it didn't help. The stalker seemed to know her every move. He left gifts at her car in the hospital parking garage. He sent flowers to her mother's house. He somehow got her unlisted phone number and started calling at all hours. The phone calls were the worst part. He never said anything threatening, just professions of love, descriptions of her daily activities, promises that they would be together soon. I saw you at the grocery store yesterday, he said during one call. You look beautiful in yellow. That dress brings out the gold in your hair. Jennifer hadn't told anyone she'd worn a yellow dress to the store. The situation was affecting her work. She was constantly looking over her shoulder, jumping at unexpected sounds, unable to concentrate on her patients. Her supervisor suggested she take some time off, but Jennifer couldn't afford to lose her salary. One night in December, Jennifer was working the ER night shift when Charles Bronson was brought in after a stunt accident on a nearby movie set. He'd taken a fall during an action sequence and needed stitches on his forehead. Jennifer was the nurse assigned to assist Dr. Patricia Martinez with Charles's treatment. Just a few stitches, Dr. Martinez told Charles as Jennifer prepared the suture kit. You'll be back to fighting bad guys by tomorrow. Charles smiled. Well, as long as I don't look too pretty with all these bandages. Can't have the audience thinking I've gone soft. Jennifer found herself laughing for the first time in weeks. There was something calming about Charles's presence, a quiet strength that made her feel safer. As Dr. Martinez worked on the stitches, Charles noticed that Jennifer kept glancing nervously toward the ER entrance. Everything okay, Miss Walsh? Jennifer Walsh. And yes, everything's fine. But Charles had spent years observing people for his acting roles, and Jennifer was clearly anything but fine. She was jumpy, distracted, constantly checking the doors and windows as if expecting someone unwelcome. When the treatment was finished, Charles asked to speak with Jennifer privately. Miss Walsh, I don't mean to pry, but you seem troubled about something. If there's a problem, maybe I can help. Jennifer hesitated. She didn't know Charles Bronson personally, but his reputation for playing protectors and vigilantes made her feel like maybe he would understand. It's probably nothing, she said. Just someone who's been bothering me. What kind of bothering? Jennifer found herself telling Charles the whole story, the letters, the gifts, the apartment break-in, the phone calls, the feeling that she was being watched every moment of every day. Charles listened without interrupting. When she finished, his expression was serious. Jennifer, this isn't nothing. This is a dangerous situation. How long has this been going on? Almost 2 months. And the police can't help. They say there's nothing they can do unless he actually threatens me or attacks me. Charles was quiet for a moment, thinking. Jennifer, do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? Family, friends? I've been staying with my sister sometimes, but I can't impose on her forever. What about work? Does hospital security know about this situation? Yes, but they're just rent-a-cops. If this person is serious about hurting me. Charles pulled out his business card and wrote his personal phone number on the back. Jennifer, I want you to call me if anything else happens. Anything at all. And I mean that, day or night, it doesn't matter. If this escalates, if you feel threatened, call me immediately. Mr. Bronson, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. And Jennifer? Start keeping a detailed log of every contact from this person. Dates, times, exact words if possible. That information could be crucial later. 2 days later, Jennifer's stalker made his first direct threat. She was leaving the hospital after her shift when a man approached her in the parking garage. He was average height, maybe 40 years old, with thinning brown hair and an expensive suit. Jennifer recognized him immediately. She'd seen him watching her from across the street, sitting in the hospital cafeteria, following her to her car. Jennifer, he said, his voice sickeningly familiar from the phone calls. We need to talk. Jennifer started backing toward the security booth, but the man stepped closer. Don't run from me. I love you. I know you love me too, you're just confused by all the other people trying to keep us apart. I don't know you, Jennifer said, trying to keep her voice steady. Please leave me alone. My name is Richard Caldwell. I'm an attorney downtown. I can give you everything you've ever wanted, money, security, a beautiful home. All you have to do is stop playing games and admit that we belong together. I want you to stay away from me. Richard's expression darkened. That's not your choice to make anymore, Jennifer. I've invested too much time and money in this relationship for you to just walk away. You're mine now, whether you accept it or not. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Call them. I have lawyers who will tie up any legal proceeding for years. By the time the courts do anything, will already be married and living somewhere far away. Jennifer ran for the security booth, but Richard called after her. You can't hide from me forever, Jennifer. I know where you live, where you work, where your family lives. If you keep running from me, people might get hurt. Jennifer called Charles Bronson from the security office. Richard Caldwell, Charles repeated, writing down the name. And he threatened you and your family? Yes. He said people might get hurt if I kept running from him. Jennifer, that's a direct threat. The police will have to take this seriously now. But when Jennifer called Detective Martinez, she discovered that Richard Caldwell was not just any attorney. He was a partner at one of Los Angeles's most prestigious law firms, with connections throughout the legal and political establishment. Miss Walsh, Mr. Caldwell's office called this afternoon, Detective Martinez told her. He claims this is all a misunderstanding, that he never threatened you, that you may be suffering from stress-related delusions. That's insane. I have witnesses. He says he was simply trying to ask you out and that you misinterpreted his approach as threatening. Without independent witnesses or recorded evidence, it's your word against his. Jennifer felt like the system was failing her. A wealthy, connected man could terrorize her for months, and law enforcement was more concerned about his reputation than her safety. That's when Charles decided to take action. The next evening, Charles went to Richard Caldwell's law office in Century City. He waited in the parking garage until Caldwell came down to his car. A black BMW with personalized plates reading, Legal 1. Mr. Caldwell, Charles said, approaching from behind. Richard turned around, and his face went white when he saw who was speaking to him. You're Charles Bronson. That's right. And you're the man who's been stalking Jennifer Walsh. Richard tried to compose himself. I don't know what you're talking about. If Miss Walsh told you that, she's obviously suffering from some kind of mental breakdown. Charles stepped closer. Richard, let me explain something to you. I've made a career playing men who hunt down people like you. People who think they can terrorize women because the legal system protects them. This is harassment. I'm going to call the police. Go ahead. But first, let me tell you what's going to happen if you don't stay away from Jennifer Walsh. Charles leaned against Richard's BMW, blocking his escape route. First, I'm going to hire private investigators to document every move you make. Every time you go near that hospital, every time you drive by Jennifer's apartment, every phone call you make, it's all going to be recorded and documented. Richard's confidence was starting to crack. You can't do that. Second, I'm going to make sure that every newspaper and television station in Los Angeles knows about Richard Caldwell, the successful attorney who spends his time terrorizing nurses. I have friends in the media who would love to do a story about stalking in wealthy professional circles. That would be slander. Would it? Because I have Jennifer's diary documenting 2 months of your unwanted attention. I have the letters you sent, the gifts you left, the phone calls you made. All of it adding up to a pattern of harassment that your law firm's insurance company would find very interesting. Charles's voice grew colder. Third, I'm going to personally guarantee Jennifer's safety. If anything happens to her, if she has so much as a mysterious accident, I will make sure that everyone knows exactly where to look for the person responsible. Richard was sweating now, despite the cool evening air. You're threatening me. I'm promising you. Stay away from Jennifer Walsh. Don't call her, don't follow her, don't go near her workplace or her apartment. Don't contact her family or friends. Forget she exists. And if I don't? Charles smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Then you'll discover what happens when someone with real power decides you're a problem that needs to be solved. Richard Caldwell never contacted Jennifer Walsh again. But Charles didn't stop there. He used his Hollywood connections to bring attention to the inadequacy of California's stalking laws. He testified before the state legislature, telling Jennifer's story and advocating for stronger legal protections for stalking victims. In 1990, 8 years after Jennifer's ordeal, California passed comprehensive anti-stalking legislation that made it easier to prosecute harassers and provided better protection for victims. The law became a model for similar legislation in other states. Jennifer Walsh continued working as a nurse and eventually became head of emergency services at Mercy General Hospital. She never married, but she dedicated her spare time to advocating for stalking victims and helping other women navigate the legal system. In 2003, when Charles Bronson died, Jennifer spoke at his memorial service. "Charles Bronson saved my life," she told the assembled mourners. "But more than that, he used my experience to help change laws that protect thousands of other women from the terror I experienced." She looked out at the crowd. People knew Charles as a tough guy who fought criminals in movies. But I knew him as a man who fought for real people facing real dangers. He taught me that sometimes the most important battles are fought not with guns, but with determination to make sure the system protects people who can't protect themselves. Today, the Jennifer Walsh Foundation provides legal assistance and support services to stalking victims throughout California. The foundation has helped over 1,500 women and men escape dangerous stalking situations. Above the entrance to the foundation's offices is a plaque that reads, "In honor of Charles Bronson, who proved that real heroes don't just protect people, they change the system that failed to protect them." That's the Charles Bronson story that matters. Not just the vigilante movies, but the man who saw a nurse being terrorized by a stalker and refused to let the system's failure be the end of the story. Because sometimes justice isn't about punishing the criminals after they've hurt someone. Sometimes it's about making sure they can't hurt anyone in the first place, and changing the laws so that future victims have the protection they deserve.